I don't have a fucking intro for this shit. We were supposed to fucking record this on fucking Friday when this thing first came out. Did it come out on Friday? Three
It
days
came out on
ago.
Thursday,
Came out on
Thursday night. Yeah,
Thursday. Yeah, we were supposed to come out on Thursday, but I was busy with work. And then the Friday afterwards, my boy Tyler over here decided to develop throat cancer.
at least can get some words on now, so we're good.
Yeah, so we're good now. We're good. Better late than never, I suppose. But yeah, so what we're talking about today is the recent memo that just came out from Nexon, outlining all the problems we've been going through for the past fucking 2 months now. At this point, 2, 3 months,
Yeah, since about
least,
November time. Yeah.
at the very least, and then and some problems that we've had just like ongoing within the community for like years now, like anywhere, anything ranging between Kashin and just general transparency on certain aspects of the game, updates and whatnot. So we're going to be talking about the memo, as we said earlier, and we're just going to go by bullet, I guess. So the first thing we have to address is the lag and server instability issues.
Oh god.
So, Tyler, you recently returned to the game, right?
Yeah, I
Well,
can.
like, yeah. So in general, you came back in March, or no, like earlier than that even, right? Or
Um.
you came back in 2020 at
Yeah,
some
I've
point?
yeah I've quite dealing with a few hiatus. So I came back in 2020 October time, which is like I think it was the was it Rise or was it just after Rise? After the like really OP farming update, and that's when
So
the
you came back just before Awake.
yes,
So
that's the one. Yeah.
Rise was like way before. That was when
Sorry,
Adele.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
After the release of Adele, a few months after the release of Adele, so around that time to prepare for the Zero release, and I jumped straight into the fire with terrible servers, which
And what would you say your credentials are as like a player who's been experiencing this game?
um compared to a lot of people, not too long. I haven't been playing for like my entire life. A lot of people. I started only in 2015, so I'm quite considered a baby by most standards. But I started in
You've
Reboot in like
you've
2017
yeah.
ish.
Hmm.
When
But you've experienced a lot of the game though. Like you've played like a bunch of different servers because like you played EMS, GMS now is your main server, but you've also played like KMS.
yeah, I've played a lot of time on KMS Reg servers, not on the Reboot server, because apparently, according to me, nobody plays on KMS Reboot, even though it's probably got more players than we do. But that's by the by.
That's a
Um,
bold.
it's a really silly thing. I've not played any. Yeah, so it's just those three servers. Not played GMS Reg servers. It's not really something that appealed to me. When the merge from Europe to global happened, Reboot was available immediately, so I just jumped straight on that after waiting for what seemed like an eternity to be able to play on Reboot.
And as for me, if you're watching this on my channel, then you can check out my past videos. I'm an endgame player, 275 dual blade reboot server. I've been playing this game for the better part of like maybe over 10 years now at the very least, but like if we're counting hiatuses. But I'm pretty much an OG in this game. But only really got into the thick of things in reboot, and even then, it's only been just recently where I've kind of entered late game, end game player status. But yeah, so in regards to the lag and server instability issues, god damn, like the servers have always been terrible. Let's
Yeah,
be real.
they for some reason like before the whole Prime channel thing, like there was a bunch of channels that you just tended to avoid anyway, and they were like Channel 9, Channel 12, and a few others. Anything above 20 was just absolutely diabolical. You just didn't want to play on it at all. Um,
No, even so, it was like before that. Like channels before, even like it was specifically the Awake update that I kind of like started figuring out that like Prime channels like did exist, and like a bunch of servers, a bunch of channels were just completely unplayable at around the Awake update. But even before then, when I started playing the game again, back in 20, like the end of 2020, like channel 30 plus, like not 30 plus, but like 20 plus channels rather, were still playable. Like channel 21, channel 24, like 30, like I even had like stints of going like channel 30 when I was like farming.
Yeah.
So like every channel was still viable. Obviously some channels were definitely better than others, but like it wasn't to the point where it's just like this is completely unplayable. I'm getting like 4 second delays between my fucking spawns, and like my loot is like causing me to actually disconnect because like of the server desync between like looting on my end and their end.
Yeah, the game would try and loot everything at once for you because you've not looted for, well, the game thinks you haven't looted for like 20 seconds or something, but it's like, no, you're trying to kill mobs still, but it's not working. And
Mm-hmm.
that used to scale based on time of the day as well. Like playing from Europe, it was, I would say like at -4. That was like when it would start suddenly becoming unplayable on almost every non-prime channel. It was ridiculous.
But specifically during the Awake update, where I kind of discovered that some channels were just absolutely unplayable, and when Prime channels started to develop. So, like, as everybody knows at this point, if you don't know, then I'm just gonna, it's public knowledge at this point. Channels, like, only 9 channels are like remotely playable on Reboot right now. I don't know how it is in regular servers. If you are a regular server player playing on this, because we're going to be talking mainly from the perspective of Reboot players, feel free to let us know in the comment sections. But only 9 out of the 30 fucking channels that are available to us are actually playable. 3, 6, 8,
Yeah, 11.
10, 11, 13 is kind of iffy. I hear mixed opinions on that. 15, 16, 17, and 19 are remotely playable throughout the day. And if you're lucky, mainly beyond Ursus hours, is channel 21, 24, and I believe 25 is remotely playable. If you're a desperate mass motherfucker, like at endgame players are, you're definitely gonna be farming on dog shit channels regardless. But like it's like it's getting pretty bad to the point in Reboot. Like for those of you who don't know, there there's a spreadsheet meta going around right now for certain prime channels and maps. So
That
people will split up into like anywhere between like 2 to 6 people, just rotating a single map on a single channel with like an entire posse of people just like holding down security. It's ridiculous.
it
Absolutely
that
mad.
that started to be a thing last year as well with Sidepath, and
So mad.
I remember when I first started developing, and that wasn't even just the prime channels. That was quite it was quite a few channels more than what the prime channels we know today. It was just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I'd never participate in something like that. It feels like a job at that point. If you have to hold down a map for a certain number of hours every day.
I believe regular servers have or like had this issue, or even like still have this issue regarding like did they call it like the Spanish Mafia is what they call it in Reg servers?
What?
Yeah, I believe I watched a Sacrix video about it, or like he mentioned it from time to time, and like also around the subreddit as well.
Hmm.
But like the Spanish Mafia, I believe it's a bunch of like Latin American players, like or like a bunch of just like Latin American like alliance or like separate guilds just holding down MTS3 specifically for whatever reason on reg servers, just holding that map down, and like they are forcing like players to either pay for the map or like or gain access to the map in whatever sense, or like they'll just KS you just outright. It's
Damn.
ridiculous.
The thing
But
is,
yeah, like
I was
go
gonna
ahead.
say I'm no stranger to seeing people pay for maps. On KMS, it's quite a regular thing during like 2x events or just very popular maps in general, like 1425, especially even like round the clock, not during events. You have to pay like a node stone to be able to take the map from somebody, and that doesn't sound like a lot, but like if you're paying for a node stone every time you need a map, that's like cutting into your profits. So, and during 2x events, instead of one node stone, it'd be like 50 node stones, and then that's all your profit during the 2x event, just down the drain, just so you can get a little bit of extra XP.
Hmm. So back on the main topic of the server instability, like in the memo, I believe they outlined as the main problem of the issue as increased amount of information that has to be handled with the increased amount of players. What are your thoughts on this? because like I think I know that MapleStory did see a huge boom of players during around March of last year, simply because the whole world went back on lockdown,
Yeah.
and you if you have literally nothing to do and you have a bunch of free time, what better what better way than to spend it on fucking MapleStory? I guess.
Yeah, well, the thing is not just during that March period, that during summer and winter of every year, obviously the player base increases with all the seasonal players. You know, I'm kind of part of that branch, but it's not limited to the time of year. So the servers will be under more strain. But it doesn't feel like there's a lot more players out and about in the server, at least. I'm not sure what the situation's like in, the US and Canada right now, but I wouldn't say that there's more people just sat indoors right now, at least at the moment. So if that was a thing, back in March, that shouldn't be an issue now, at least in January, December time.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm so disconnected with the whole community right now. Because I'm a player that tends to keep to himself.
Mm-hmm.
Can only like kind of surround himself with like a close knit group of people. But like I don't know what the whole entire like population kind of situation is like. I definitely feel like it definitely saw a spike in popularity, and like it brought like people who quit the game for years to like come back, and now like they've had so much free time during lockdown that they've become like so much stronger comparatively. Like I know a couple of friends went from like barely being able to like solo like Hard Lotus to they're just clearing Black Mage like on a weekly basis now, myself included. So
Yeah, and I guess like the early game players, they all got themselves to like a mid game point now, so that they're not worried about the only messy income they have is Ursus or some Maple Tour rubbish like that. They have, maybe they have a couple of mules going and they got the Kana up and running, which definitely helps people want to log in on a daily or weekly basis and continue to make progress once they've got less time.
like, what do you think about that leak? Because I know there might be an image that's floating around. I know it's been posted on the subreddit, but like somebody asked an actual Nexon employee, not the one that I think you're talking about, but like the one that claimed that they tried to upgrade the servers, and like the new servers just wouldn't run MapleStory properly and actually made performance actually worse. What do you think about that?
I've never heard so much bullshit in my life, dude. That's like, could you imagine any other company saying that to their player base? Like, not only is that like, sure, maybe that's true, right? But you shouldn't. First of all, you shouldn't come out and just say that to the community. It's like, oh look, we tried to make the servers better, but it made the servers worse. You should be looking into why that is an issue and resolving that issue rather than, well, I guess it didn't work. We'll put our hands up and just, go back to being on vacation or something like that. Because I just think it's ridiculous. And if they leaning on that as an excuse, I just don't agree with that at all. No other community would allow for that at all.
Yeah, if anybody has seen Steve's video, the Iran 69,
59.
I know it's 59. 69. Steve, he made a video recently regarding this very discussion. Like, this discussion's a whole hot topic that everybody wants to talk about right now, including us. But like this, like I agree. Like this is completely unacceptable to the point where, like, I think he said that in KMS, like, if they had this kind of issue, they would like immediately shut down the servers for at least an hour or two, and then like do their best to like fix it.
Yeah, and we would in KMS they are quite nice in terms of giving compensation when it has stuff like that. I do remember they had a couple of rollbacks 2019 around that time due to some massive amount of lag that they were experiencing on the server, and the compensation they received was probably, and this was only for a couple of hours, mind you, and the compensation they received was pretty comparable to what we've actually gotten that's listed in this memo, with the exception of the VAC pet. That wasn't something they gave away back then, but they gave away a lot of stuff. What do you think about the compensation that we're receiving for all this server issues?
Yeah, we're really taking it up the ass in terms of just how GMS is treating us. What I think about the compensation. So the list of for the list of the compensation for those of you who don't know is a magnificent growth potion, which is a potion that levels you up from anywhere, like guarantees you one level between 240 and 249, I believe it was.
Yeah, that's right.
Typhoon growth potion, which is anywhere under 239.
Yeah, 220 to 239 is the.
Yeah, extreme growth potion, which is the bonk potion, so it guarantees a level anywhere between 1 to 10 levels at under 200.
Mm-hmm.
Symbol selector coupons. It doesn't specify specifically which symbol selector coupons. I think everybody. It's safe to assume that it's going to be arcane symbol selectors, but I'm hoping it's I'm hoping it's sacred symbol as an endgame player.
It
Because 100 Arcus symbols is actually massive.
yeah.
But, like if it's arcane symbols, then I'm just gonna have to throw that on like a second on my mule or like a con or something. Sherbet pet, which is the vac pet. It lasts 30 days and it's a coupon. I believe the coupon lasts 30 days in and of itself, and then once you open it up, the pet lasts 90 days. Wait, no, it's just 30 days.
Yeah, it's only going to be 30 days.
No, it's a 30-day coupon. The coupon is 30 days, and then it still works like last time. So you can hold it for like up until for an entire month, and then open it up later, and then you'll have an extra month beyond everybody who already opened up on day one for the exchange that you don't use yours for the first month.
I don't know if it's going to be a 90-day once it's opened or not, or if it's just going to be 30 days. Just because it says 30-day coupon, I don't think they normally specify how long the coupon itself lasts. I do think it's just going to be a 30-day pet, just like the one that they get on KMS from the New Year's event.
I'm going to be a bit more optimistic as rare as that is for me.
You're going to ride that hopium.
I'm going to ride that hopium and hope that it's a 90-day pet with a 30-day coupon. 5 Master Craftsman's Cube, dude. That's so good.
That'll go good. Nicely on my Dell, like on my mule.
5 Master Craftsman's Cubes and 5 Meister Cubes. Oh my god, I love having shittier black cubes, shittier red cubes even, to work with. I have had extremely good luck with Meister Cubes though, I'm not gonna lie.
The thing is, I feel like they added that just to like pad out the list a little bit more.
100%.
Because otherwise, like nobody would miss them if they weren't there, honestly.
And Maple Tour VIP pass coupon times 30. So what Maple Tour is, for those of you who don't know, is another welfare system that they have in the game. It's quite a helpful system, all things considered. It takes like 2 minutes of your time. I think it takes like a minute of your time each run. You can run up to 7 times a day, I believe. No, it's 7 times a day in total. You can run 2 times a day if you don't pay extra for it. But what this is basically a free pass, so you can run the full 7 runs in a day. So on top of your 2 runs that you get an extra 5. So for 6 days, I believe you can get the full 7-day run.
Yeah.
And I believe each run is worth, or each session is worth, I believe 100 mil total. No, you make like 250 mil, I believe. At the end of the week, if you just do that. So if you do like a full run, then like you do like multiply by 5 or something.
Yeah, it's I don't know the exact numbers, but it's a nice little bit of extra change to go to the players. It's more beneficial to the newer players. I don't personally do Maple Tour for the most part, because when you're only doing it twice, it doesn't feel worth it unless you have literally nothing else to do. So
it's not like Ursus where you make like 3 times the amount of money at the end of the week.
Yeah, and it only takes the same amount of time to do Ursus as it does to do Maple Tour, and Ursus is like 100 mil straight up. So with the exception of the assuming the symbol selector is for arcane symbols rather than sacred symbols, only thing that's worth it in the composition is like the magnificent growth potion. I think everything else is just absolute joke. The sherbet pet, I think it's dependent on whether it's 30 or 90 days. I do think it's 30 days, but they're just trying to soften us up for when they add the vac pets to reboot anyway. So, but we can touch on that in a bit.
threw in the vac pet literally just to get us wide-eyed.
Hmm.
100%.
Just
I
in
think
case you forgot what it was like.
I think this package is absolute dog shit. It is genuinely absolute dog. It's an absolute joke. It is nowhere near the amount of compensation that we do like that we actually like deserve for the amount of issues that we've had, because this isn't just about like server instability. Like this is like, if this was just server instability for like the entire like year, then like even then it's a complete joke, because we've had so many problems. Like literally since Awake we've had server instabilities with like prime channels being a thing, but we've also had issues with the slime event as of recent is the most recent like outrage that we've had.
Hmm.
I can't even remember. Like, we've had so many problems that like I have a pretty decent memory, but I can't even remember if we even like resolved any of the issues from that shit. We've had multiple Maple Miracle Times just fail. Uh, People have had cubes completely wasted if they didn't spend it on like the first day, as in the 25th of December, I believe it was. If you didn't spend on the 25th, the cubes that you bought from Cube Sale the month prior would have expired, and you would not have gotten compensated for that. Unless you like used it on the 26th, I believe, or like any of the other following days, not on the 25th, because that was the only day I was working.
Yeah, it was completely ridiculous the way that they went about it, and the compensation for that the individuals that did get punished for, you know, something that wasn't even their fault, for just not picking the 24th of December, which is that was a mistake. They didn't pick the 24th of December, they just lost out on a miracle time. They lost all their cubes, and the compensation they got was, oh, you can pick another miracle time. Dave's like, well, what about my cubes, dude? Like,
Well, it's the wording that they used. Will allow you to to have this miracle time. Ridiculous. But like even before, it was like stuff, channels constantly crashing over Christmas, and like constantly crashing over the course of like even like November, October, September
mm-hmm.
of this year. We've had like multiple like channels just go down on like a daily basis, and them doing literally nothing about it. Like they keep on like doing these unscheduled maintenances, but they do absolutely nothing to actually like fix the problem, because it still happens anyways.
Yeah, well, the upcoming maintenance that we have on Tuesday is not even to fix the issue. They're just adding like additional logging systems so they can see which, like, I don't even know what the benefit of them doing that is, but and then they're swapping channels around to like moving the issue from one channel to another, just changing prime channels at that point.
Changing prime.
That's what they're doing. They're just moving prime channel from 6 to 7, 8 to 9. Like, what use is that going to do, dude?
Oh god. But yeah, overall, I think this compensation, this like care package that they're sending us, absolute dog shit. Like all it is it's like fucking 3 extra levels on like on the 250 on the 240 character for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm binned on my Legion. Like people might appreciate this. You shouldn't appreciate this, is what I'm saying. You shouldn't. Don't get baited by the Sherbet Pet. Don't get baited by, even if these are Sacred Symbols Selector coupons for endgame players, don't get baited by that shit. Like we need more. Like this is like the bare minimum, absolute bare minimum. Like I would reckon to say that this is even like less than the bare minimum.
Yeah.
they're still trying to skim us.
This should be like a situation of like, here you can have this for now, and when we resolve the issues, which will be resolved on X date by X date, we'll review and give you more compensation due to the time that it's taken. But at this point, it's just like, no, this is all you get, and go fuck yourself, pretty much. Like,
yeah, because this isn't even like, if this is just for like, because we still need to get compensated for like a bunch of different like things. I wouldn't say that this is on par with the whole interoperability and like flame scandal that happened earlier this year. Jesus Christ,
no,
that was a nightmare. Not earlier this year, but like earlier last year. That was a nightmare. But like, we definitely deserve better than this, is what we're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, on to the arguably the bigger issue right now. All these issues are actually quite big, to be honest. But it's regarding Kana's Kishin Shokan skill.
This is the longest ongoing issue I think we've had since almost
it's the inception of the class.
Well, not just this inception of the class, I would say since just before 5th job was the first time that they tried to nerf Kana, right? And then they introduced Frenzy to him in the same patch, or like a month later or something. was
I
absolute joke.
really was.
And
God, Frenzy Totem on release was even more broken than it was before, like
yeah,
than what it is now, right?
but the thing is as well, like one thing to touch on just quickly based on the server changes, because they actually mentioned that Kishin Shokan is a cause of the server issues. Do you not remember how busted Kishin was when it first came out? And not only that, it stacked with itself, which was not known by a lot of people at the time, and it had no cooldown, and everyone was just farming on their Kana in like, MP3 or Blackgate or wherever else that they decided to farm. Plus all the hackers and the botters that were farming in the unknown maps too. So, and we didn't have server issues back then.
Yeah, definitely not. Like I do remember the servers being still like relatively okay even on Reboot's release. Like
Yeah.
sure, like the worst thing that happened on Reboot's release is just like a bunch of Kinesis hackers, Blazers hackers, and like highly contested maps being congested.
Hmm.
It's kind of it.
Yeah, but
But so what Kashin does right now is everybody knows it. It's a turret that does damage, but more importantly, it's a skill that increases the spawn limit of the map that it's existing on, but also the spawn rate in which mobs like appear within that map. And it's led to the reboot meta being anywhere between absolutely requiring two PCs and or virtual machines if you can get one up and running. Maybe Nexon doesn't like you running virtual machines. They'll do anything in their power to try to stop you, despite literally having a pay-to-win feature for like a virtual machine like that they just implemented recently in the NVIDIA. Uh, is it NVIDIA?
uh, yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, GeForce Experience, something like that. And it costs like $20 a month or something like that. It's absolutely ridiculous.
$20 to pay for a virtual machine.
Which can run Maple, so
Yep. So anywhere between requiring a two PC meta in order to train efficiently and to the main point, which is everybody in Reboot is almost, if not completely, required to have a farming Kana in order to progress in this game at a relatively decent pace. I'm not saying that you can't progress, just farming on your main. A lot of classes can do that, especially the newer classes. With the advent, but it still requires like either having Kashin in order to do it properly, or like to do it in a way that still feels good, or moving, or like totems, which we'll talk about that like probably later on with this discussion.
yeah, I would say it's also less of an issue now since we got more damage across the board. A lot of classes with the final damage change that actually made it so when you get to Choo Choo and Lashlin, you're not suddenly unable to one-shot the mobs even if you have the sufficient arcane force, because a lot of classes you just level up so fast nowadays when it comes to like level 200 areas, and you are leveling up faster than the damage can keep up. So it came to the point where you were like level 215, 216, you couldn't do Choo Choo PQ, and you needed more money but you couldn't farm money because you were too weak, so you had the only option at that point was just to go to work on a Kana, or just play very slowly and just do your weeklies and dailies, which you can do, like you said, but it's a lot longer of a process, and you would be able to make more progress quickly by doing this method instead and working on a Kana.
I've always had this belief, and now it's gotten, with the advent of this change to this skill. I've always argued that if you absolutely refuse to play Kana, you okay, when I see posts on Reddit saying that, or not posts, but comments claiming that they don't want to make a Kana because they want to play this game as a marathon and not a sprint. You guys don't know what you guys are talking about. You guys are the sprinters. If you guys don't refuse to make a Kana and refuse to actually participate, or participated in Kana farming, you guys were the ones who were gonna burn yourselves out because you guys have no idea how grindy this game is.
Yeah.
You guys aren't prepared for how grindy this game is. Kana is literally the answer for you to is the answer to making this game less of a chore. Sure, it's a pain in the ass to farm 2 hours every single day because we're stuck in this 2 hour farming meta. But if you have any aspirations of going anywhere higher than getting carried in hard lucid, then making a Kana and farming for yourself is the only option.
Yeah.
It was the only option. now we have no idea. We have absolutely no idea what this new change
You have
is.
to go back to the drawing board with that one, or maybe look at some resources from KMS and TMS. But the whole argument of it's they're going for a marathon, not a sprint. You're literally you have to set yourself back to start on the corner, and that's, I would say, more a definition of a marathon than a sprint anyway, because you are setting yourself back for now. You're sinking maybe 10 bill into a character that's not your main, so that it can generate you more money. So the whole argument of just working on one character, maybe it's more fun. I get it. Playing a Connor like every single day, that's in its only purpose in life is to generate messes for you, fucking sucks. And that's just the reality of the meta up until now, I guess.
But yeah, so for those who don't know, the changes coming to Kana are, they are going to be removing the increased spawn rate and the spawn limit increase functions that come with the skill, and they're going to change it into a skill that provides 10% increased EXP gained, which is I still have no idea if they're keeping the turret functionality of the skill. I believe they are.
I hope so.
Because like it'd be like the skill would be base if the skill became like a passive essentially that just gives you 10% EXP, then it'd be one of the worst. Terrible. It'd be so bad by comparison. It's still bad. It's still bad by comparison now, but like it'd be even worse off.
I want to say it's almost guaranteed that it keeps its turret function, since it is a node skill. Otherwise, it just becomes another Night Ghost at that point. And the 10% XP on there is just, it's so small. I don't even know why they bothered putting it on there, to be honest, because that's a flat 10% as well. That's not like a final 10% like from a XP potion or something like that. So it's not going to be even noticeable for the players, and if anything, their XP is going to decrease.
At the end of the day, like I still do truly believe, as long as Kashin keeps its damage portion, it's still going to be one of the best farmers in the game. Just full stop. I
only agree with that if they remove the cooldown on Kishin, or increase the uptime on that skill, because it's hard to tell at the moment because of you can't have Kishin on the map and kill monsters without having the increased spawn rate because of how it works. But maintaining uptime on your Kish is going to be significantly more difficult with less mobs in the map and less spawn rate. So I'm hoping to see some changes with that. And they said that they're going to look at some rebalancing for Kana, so I'm hoping that that's one of the changes that they make.
Yeah, like I honestly like I think me and the community like kind of generally agree that like that change is probably the only change that Kana probably like would require it in order for it to still be like top tier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even without its like increased spawning capabilities, everybody knows that Kana is like probably the de facto best class in the game.
For bossing and for farming as well.
Yeah, bar none. Bar none.
Yeah.
It is still like the only class with that has a 15-second bind. Like Domain is the only skill that gives even Benediction a run for its money. Like 60k Benediction a run for its money.
Yeah, and all you need is level 30, and that's it.
Like Bossing Bear is ridiculous, Pink Bear is ridiculous. The class in and of itself has so many buffs to itself that it's absurd. Like Sakura's Blessing for Hayato and Kana is retarded, downright retarded. I'm gonna use that word. What's it called? Let's see. Foxfire, ridiculous. That skill is ignorant.
Okay.
It is the definition of ignorant. It just ignores so much dog shit that this game just throws at you.
Foxfire might be the strongest buff in the game. For like a defensive utility, it's absolutely insane. It ignores mechanics like Black Mage. I think it can ignore Lucid Bomb, right? Or am I wrong on that?
It cannot.
Oh, okay, well, we'll just say it can ignore a lot of mechanics.
I think if you have it up, it might. Like, I think if you're talking about whether or not like you get a bomb placed on you,
Yeah,
it might
yeah,
actually ignore that. It might actually ignore that.
yeah. And if you're going back to like more early game content, then it ignores like the mechanics of like Chaos Root Abyss bosses. I know that not really end game anymore, but even going back to those where they did play some silly debuffs on you, like the hats from Pierre and the flame from Queen. It's just, oh well, you could just completely ignore that. So Foxfire is just super strong, and whether I would like to see it enough is, I guess, a different question.
Still the only class that just gets a final damage bonus buff for being, in
For
your
just being
party.
alive, yeah.
More members in your party, the more final damage you get. Okay, I'll take those. Take your entire stock. But this isn't a discussion about the balance of Kana, but like rather Kishin. So I think what everybody on the subreddit and just general thoughts on the change is did you want you were in favor of getting Kishin nerfed? Yes or no?
Um, I would say yes, but I know how painful it's going to be for a lot of people. I know that it will just cause a lot of people to quit, but for me, just get it away from me. Dude. I'm sick of seeing it, to be honest. Which I think is quite a controversial opinion, but when I saw a lot of people posting on the Reddit, maybe that's not as controversial as I thought. Though the people that want it removed seem to want it removed for different reasons to me.
Do you say are you okay with it being removed simply because you don't have a nearly invested Kana as most of the endgame players?
Oh no, absolutely not, because I would be quite happy to continue working on Akana if I had to. My grip is more, first of all, above the level 245 zones. Getting Akana there is getting difficult, and then getting into Cernium, Burnium, and Arcus is even more difficult. And the advantage you're at if you have Kana at those maps, it's like an infinite totem at that point. The only thing you need to do is make sure the Kana doesn't die, and that's not really an issue because autopot's a thing, and people can Spanish to keep the Kana moving and active and things like that. So the drawbacks are almost non-existent as long as you put the time into a second character. As far as mains go for Kana farming, a lot of people, they'd be able to transition pretty easily to just having it as a bossing mule. It's essentially just a free funded character at that point for everyone that's already got it to that point. But of course, it will be a problem for a lot of people that are already, quite happy they log in, they do their 2 hours on their Kana, and then they do whatever they want on their main after the fact. They won't be able to do that anymore. They'd have to either do the same with significantly lower rates, or they have to build up a new character from scratch, basically, which is not something that I would wish on anyone.
Because the farming meta in KMS right now is
Shadower
farming.
Yeah.
Shadower farming, AB farming. I don't believe it is an actual thing that you kind of insist that was.
All right.
It maybe way back then.
It was in Esfera. I don't believe it is in Lamina. You need too much damage to be able to one shot in Lamina with an AB, but in Esfera it was definitely a thing.
Sure. So if we're going to talk about Kishin Shokan, we obviously need to talk about the other elephant in the room, which is the existence of wild totems in the game right now.
Sure, but before we touch on wild totems, I'd just like to say about the frenzy totems, because I've seen a lot of people comparing frenzy totem removal to Kishin removal, and the thing is, because part of the argument for the removal of Kishin was due to server stress, and people would say, oh well, frenzy is significantly more powerful than Akana, so that should cause even more server strain. And it's kind of like a yes and no. Sure, it probably causes more stress on the server, but if you think about how many people have Akana compared to how many people have access to a frenzy totem, it's just it's not comparable. Like, so few people have a frenzy totem. That item is ridiculously rare and expensive to get a hold of, and even if you're purchasing a frenzy totem service, you're only doing it for a short period of time compared to, if you're going to farm on your Kana, you're doing that. You're locked in for 2 hours, and a lot of people are doing that on every single channel and on a lot of maps compared to use of a frenzy totem, which is it's there's way more server stress coming from Connor alone compared to frenzy totem, and the removal of frenzy totem doesn't make any sense to me that people are advocating for some reason.
Not sure about everybody's thoughts on Frenzy Totem specifically. Like, the subreddit has been dominated by Reboot for so long that I rarely ever get any opinions thrown at me regarding Frenzy Totem, so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, sure.
But moving on to Wild Totems, because this is actually relevant to us.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Wild Totems persisting with the disappearance of Kashin? I mean, we haven't gotten any confirmation of whether or not Wild Totems will be disappearing from the game. Another fucking problem with transparency and stupid-ass company.
Imagine them saying everything in one memo, dude. That would be an experience.
Yeah, so assuming that, like, let's just take their word for it right now, like what they present to us, and because we have a guarantee that Kashin is gone now, but Wild Totems are more than likely going to be staying, based on what they've given us so far. What are your thoughts?
Let's see. So I'm quite happy for them to remain as they are. They give players an incentive to continue working on their main account like throughout the month. I know there's like a discussion on whether they should have their duration cut and availability increased, just so, because the whole locked in a map for 2 hour meta is not enjoyable for a lot of people, which is understandable. But even with the removal of that, you still have wealth acquisition potions, which people, are quite happy to pop when they're farming on Frenzy Totem. So, Wild Totem. They'll pop that at the beginning, so they're still going to be locked into the map for 2 hours. The only mini XP potions we got were the mini potions we got as the XP ones, and they're for 30 minutes. Wealth acquisitions are still 2 hours, so you're going to be locked into the map regardless. Do you think because at the moment we get 17 totems a month, do you think that's that they should be increasing that, or do you think that's fine as it is?
I have very mixed thoughts on this. Like, if I have to think about how many hours I farm in a week, I think I farm about, let me just count right here, at least 14 if I do 2 hours every single day.
Sure.
And then on weekends maybe I do an extra like 3 sessions, like per like on no, I think I do an extra like 4 sessions if I do Friday and Saturday. So like like that pretty much fits. That goes in line with my work schedule, like 17 totems.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's obviously just like I wouldn't be able to get the 17th totem, which is at the end of the month, like when I wanted it to. But like in terms of just purely like if I'm only working, I just don't like how it like I think people's problems is that like they don't want to be restrained in how they use it. So
Yeah.
if you want a Connor farm and you have to burn a totem in order to do that, you're basically saying that I'm giving up on either training like a secondary character or like my main, pretty much for that day.
Yeah, you're
right.
Sort of forced into the choice of, do I want Mesa or do I want XP? If your main is at, the point of being able to go to Sonium or higher.
Like in terms of, has Camus has made a formal statement on the 2 hour kind of like meta thing in like recently, right?
If they have, I don't recall it. I know people were complaining about it for quite a while prior to the release of Slime and the boss table changes, but I don't know what their official statement was on it, if they haven't made one.
I think from what I can remember, they said that they aren't looking to plan on changing the 2 hour coupon, like the potions specifically, but I think with the advent of them putting out these like 30-minute kind of like higher tier alchemy potions in as a boss drop reward, at least in terms of like EXP. I don't know like how they're doing it for like wealth, because I don't know if they actually know the because it's like regular server thing in
Hmm.
KMS. Like I don't know how well informed they are about the significance it is to us. Like for like being a bit of a doomer, fucking like KMS just does not care about GMS. We'll get on about that later. KMS does not give a shit about GMS,
No, they only care about their own server.
or even like Reboot in general, right? Like it took an entire scandal for them to actually do anything significant about Reboot as of late.
uh, it's difficult because we are the people that say that they don't care about KMS Reboot, but a lot of their player base. Well, I can't speak for their entire player base, obviously, but some of them say that they don't care about them, but like and regular server players say, well, nobody cares about Reboot because it's like the joke server, you know, because you get everything like XP given to you and all these sorts of things, and you don't have to work for. Well, they say that you don't have to work for like cubing upgrades and stuff like that because you don't spend any money. But I don't know how necessarily true that is. KMS or Reboot in general has been getting a lot more attention from the developers in the past year or so. So I would say that either their stance has changed or it's not as true as what people were thinking.
Say that, and yet they're completely oblivious. It feels like they're oblivious to like certain like aspects of Reboot that are going to be influenced by regular server changes, like the boss crystals. We'll get on that later.
God, yeah,
But like I'm gonna be a bit more optimistic on this, and like with the advent of the 30-minute coupons, not coupons, but the 30-minute higher tier alchemy potions, like they are going to be looking towards making like these specific potions a bit more flexible, even if they are like a boss reward rather than like an alchemy reward, which I think is a good thing. So like you do your bosses in order to make like get the item that's more convenient for you. Like otherwise you're gonna have to like do your crafting in order to get an item that may be less convenient for you, but is always readily available to you.
yeah. And then if you know that you can be locked in for 2 hours anyway, then you could just pop the big potion and save the little ones for when you've not got that much time to train or something like that. Um, though I would say if they do go the route of introducing 30-minute wealth in addition, they should, assuming they're not making any other changes to terms, they should uh, make them last shorter duration but give us more of them, or have them. Some people are talking about an on-off feature for totems, which like the snail, which I think is also a nice idea because nobody likes when you disconnect from a map, you log in and somebody's there, and now like the next 47 minutes of your totem, for example, is just completely wasted because you won't be able to find another channel because
Kind of goes hand in hand with like server like improvements, right? If they, in theory, improve the servers, you shouldn't be experiencing disconnecting issues. With the upcoming 64-bit client, which has been confirmed for GMS,
finally,
we should be facing severely less memory leaking, so we will be crashing less based on the game just fucking up on our end. I mean, like I say on our end, but it's still fucking Nexon's problem. But we'll be crashing less and less because of that. But like if they also end up fixing server stability for one reason or another, whether or not Kashin is actually like the reason why, like whatever, that in theory should improve like the people who stick with 2-hour farming sessions.
yeah, and you would hope that they would crash less in the process as well.
Yeah. Um, and on like the topic of like 30-minute sessions, please make fucking Legion coupons not disappear when you fucking disconnect as well.
Oh god, that's like the most depressing part about disconnecting. Even if you can log back in and your map's empty, you still lost that entire Legion coupon. And if you pop another one right after you log back in, and then let's say you soft crash initially, you log back in, you pop another coupon because you don't look like you're gonna crash again. 5 minutes later, you go for a hard crash, and then you just wasted like half of like your previous coupon and almost all of your second coupon that you popped in. And it's just not an enjoyable experience at all. If it should stay when you log out, I don't know why it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm in favor of making totems a bit more flexible.
Sure.
As for more in terms of availability, I mean, like I'm all for making them cheaper. Like if I can buy out an extra Water of Life and like a couple of black cubes on my way out of the month, like along with all like my totems being like bought out as well, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But like, do you personally have an issue with how available they are right now? Like they cost what 1.8 RP for 17, which is, I believe we calculated this numbers. It's like 32K or something.
Yeah, it's let me just double check.
Like,
It's 27k reward points. The other two are free, which you get from the login event, the attendance. So 27k reward points a month. It's actually a lot easier to get that 27k than it used to be, which is nice. Quite often now, at least for me, I assume for a lot of people as well, they're capping out on that 50k reward points each month. So
yeah.
In terms of the cost, I don't think that's an issue, personally. For me, I find the actual number that we get a month, we get 17 a month, right? I'm kind of torn on whether that should be increased or not, or made infinite, purely because at the moment 17 totems a month creates FOMO for a lot of mid-core to hardcore players, so they feel like they have to use them up, right?
Yes. I already discussed, like I mentioned this earlier, but I guess I kind of just like the idea just dawned on me right now is that like I said that like 17 totems is enough for me to cover my working week.
Yeah.
And, like, but once I'm done that working week, I literally cannot farm. I would not be able to farm in air quotes on my Kana or any of my other characters, for that matter, for Meso, for like until literally next month.
Yeah.
So like 3 weeks out of 4, like I'm not making any income outside of bossing, which is I feel like is the main issue here.
Yeah, it would be a matter of like, oh, you get your 17 totems or your 17 boosted sessions a month, and then after that you have to farm on like let's say a shadow or arcana for the rest of the month with no spawn enhancement, and that just, it doesn't feel enjoyable to anybody. But at the moment nobody's doing that, so I don't know how much worse it actually is, and nobody really wants to test it because it just takes a long time. You know, if you're going to farm for 2 hours, you don't want to farm for 2 hours at lower rate just to see how it compares. So and people will be forced to do that when they run out of totems. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, I think, increasing the availability of totems above the 17 that we get at the moment. I would say for like lesser tryhard players, they don't even hit that 17 limit each month, so the changes wouldn't impact them at all anyway. They'll just pop a totem whenever they log in and get a chance to play on like a Saturday or something. It's more the mid to high mid tier players that would be, they either get FOMO from only having 17 totems and wanting to use them all up, but the hardcore players will just pop more totems by continuing on with the 2 PC meta, but just, you know, instead of Kishin, they're using a totem on a Kana, you know, which I don't think is healthy either for the game.
But yeah, so what else should we talk about in terms of Machine being on and wild totems? Like, can you think of anything else that kind of arises from this?
One thing that I know Savage Ace said a long time ago is that he would add wild totems to event shops, and he never did that, so he can go fuck himself. That was one of the things he said when he first introduced them. So
GMS promises.
Oh god, that would have been nice, because then if you don't feel the FOMO when you get them, because you feel excited to get them and use them up. But we're still on the infinite waiting room for that one. But I don't know, I have anything else to say on totems, to be honest.
Maybe when we get onto like the whole boycott thing,
Sure.
we'll get some what's it called, perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
So upcoming content plans. Oh God. Okay. So what this outlines is the changes that we're going to be getting throughout the year of 2022. So it outlines plans for February, March, the general summer of 2022, and then other things determined anywhere between now and July, which is very interesting. So like because these changes can come anywhere between like literally as soon as next week to the middle of the year.
Yeah, because we're almost in February already. So
As for confirmed changes in, let's just go in order. So in terms of February 2022, what they've confirmed is Tower of Oz content changes and reward improvements. You aren't really a big Tower of Oz player compared to me, and even then, I'm not really a big Tower of Oz player myself. But I believe what this is the upcoming changes to the how rewards work
yeah,
for Oz. If I remember correctly, the biggest change is that box shards can now be stacked up to 100 to guarantee you a ring that is, I believe, level 3
3 or
or
above. Yeah,
higher. So it's easier to get ROR 3 and above, which is kind of like the minimum that people want to come out with, ROR 3. Um, Content in terms of like various floor changes. So they're gonna make a bunch of like redundant floors. Like they're gonna revamp them to make them faster and other floors easier to do. In terms of like reward improvements, aside from like the box, I believe like what the like I believe they're also like changing how like this is the worst case scenario. Like if that isn't like what the change is, and what they're actually doing is re-implementing what they actually changed before this during the I believe the awake no was it the Neo patch, I believe it was,
uh,
where I believe it was the Neo patch or like just before the Neo patch where they would improve rewards within the boxes so that you wouldn't get useless stuff like flames and spell traces that
oh
they
yeah,
had to reintroduce back into the box because of how they fucking brought in that stupid like boss change that removed all the flames without having to like my memory is really hazy on this,
they went
but
back on that one pretty quickly though.
they did because like they removed all the cubes that drop from bosses,
Yeah,
and I think their idea was that they would make them drop more often from elite champions, elite mobs, and elite bosses.
that was
By
the
comparison,
idea. Yeah,
that was the idea, and then like they didn't even do that because like the overall drop was I believe like less than 1% from the mobs, champions, and bosses,
yeah,
elite bosses.
yeah, yeah.
And then they also took away the cubes from the regular bosses. Like I meme about like Master Craftsman's cubes, but they are useful for like building up mules.
Oh, they're
Uh,
great for building up mules. It's just free cubes essentially, right? For
it's
re-rolling up to unique.
it's free unique cubes or like unique tier items. But like my kind of like biggest kind of fear is that like that is literally the only kind of change. Like I'm like again trying to be the optimist here. Like content changes. Like I'm gonna be jumping back into Oz in February soon because my gear is done for the most part. But I'm hoping like the floor changes and the box shard stacking up to like the big box is going to be implemented here. And like useless items like flames and spell traces are removed,
Yeah.
as well as like fucking low tier pouches. Goddamn, because it just feels bad every time you fucking run like an hour long session of Oz. Like if you're kind of like a slower player running this content, if you want like a giga chat like Mason,
Someone like myself, if I was running Oz, yeah.
yeah, like
Just
who has the time to just like prep each floor for like a 42-minute clear, like bruh. Um, let's see, additional quality of life improvements for bug fixing, quality of life improvements and bug fixing, excuse me, for guild skills, abilities, and various reboot world content. In terms of guilds, I believe they're changing how much lag is weighted compared to covert. I believe that is a change. Skills, I have no idea. Abilities, I believe is
the inner ability buff to more higher chance for unique tier, I believe, if I remember correctly.
a higher tier for unique per roll, I believe, so you can get your fabled 20% crit a lot, or like the range for like the 15% to 20% range for critical rate, buff duration, and I believe they're also adding the epic tier crit rate line.
Yep. Yeah, it's the unique jumping from 5% to 10% is quite nice. I know a lot of people have been screwed over by the whole, re-rolling for a unique line, and it's not an enjoyable process, to be honest, with the whole honor system. So I'm all for it. A little bit late, but better late than never.
What kind of various reboot world content are we missing? Because we're missing a bunch right now, but like in terms of like what we should have gotten that like that we aren't going to cover in a bit.
I think it's just the boss changes, isn't it? So, or no, that's across all servers. So I'm not actually sure what they're referring to, unless we get more damage, final damage to monsters of a higher level. That might be a thing, because at the moment it's still the old system, isn't it, where it caps out at 5 levels above.
One knows what this various reboot world content like actually means, whether or not like they're decreasing prices on like certain items, or like they're adjusting skills, or like whatever. Like, feel free to tell us. The Choo Choo Food Festival event, that is an event that Steve has outlined. I'll link in a video, I guess, or like you can go search it up yourself. Cubes and flame adjustments, so increased availability of flames from elite monsters. Okay, so we talked about that already. Removal of cubes and flame-related items from sources that contributed less than 1% of the overall player's acquisition method. So I believe this also comes from. This is also referring to like the Oz thing that I talked about.
Yep.
And adjustments to set effects of Absolab and Arcane Umber equipment. Okay, so this one is this is
quite a big change.
It's a big change, but like we should have gotten in this patch.
Yeah.
This patch right here, the Lara patch and the Guardian Slime patch, we should have already had this for like a month now at this point, if not like since 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But what this changes is that it splits up the 5 set effect between the lower set effects. So 4 and 3 also like they split up. So right now at 5 set effect, I believe the Absolab and Arcane sets give you 30% boss in total.
That's right. Yeah.
So they're going to divide that up between the 3 up until 5. So 3 will get 10%, 4 will get an extra 10%, and then 5 will get the final what would have been 30% in total boss damage. And like this is extremely helpful for mules, like just like deciding to work up, and like also people trying to make a transition from Abso to Arcane. Losing, and as well as like people like blowing up their gear and having to go back to Absolab, like if they accidentally blow up like on an attempt from 70 to 18.
Yeah, they can temporarily. They don't lose quite as much power as what they would have lost if they've gone from a 5 set to a. Basically, they're going from a 5 set to a 0 set, right? If you lose that fighty boss.
To a 2 set, yeah.
Yeah. The attack is not quite as big as the boss percentage on its own. The boss is pretty huge. It also means that like if you're transitioning, you just got like your weapon, you got a glove and a cape. So maybe you got one of those as a drop. You can go. It would be free set, and that doesn't feel quite as bad as what it does currently. You'd only lose that on say 10% boss across the board, which is not really that bad, to be honest. I don't think.
It's going to be like something that we bring up a lot when we go throughout these changes, and it's like it's just asking why was this held back? Like I'm pissed off that it did get held back, but I'm more pissed off is that as to not being given an explanation as to why. Like I think is what everybody's problem is.
Yeah, there was.
If they gave us a good explanation as to why they held back so many of these changes that should have been in this patch, then I wouldn't have been nearly as pissed off as I am right now, because I genuinely am pissed off about some of these changes, especially the boss crystal change. Jesus Christ!
Okay.
Oh my god, that change.
They've held that. They're holding that so far back too. Like that should have also be coming now, and it's being held back for 6 months.
Like I have a personal kind of like theory as to why, but like we'll get to that when we get to that. But like just know that in February, like this change is going to be coming. So like for anybody who is thinking about like worried about transitioning from Arcane to Absolab, it's going to be a lot easier, because you can just full send like your Arcanes, and then if they blow up, then they blow up. You aren't going to be losing all that much. And if you happen to get lucky, like like you can actually use the gear that you got lucky on immediately.
Yeah. Rather than
I know a lot of people who kind of just like starred all of their gear in tandem. They kind of just like do like, okay, I'm gonna go all 17 arcanes and I'm gonna tap them one at a time each up
Well,
until, because that's what I did.
that's literally what I did today. You know, during the starring event, I had to get them all to 17, and then I'm gonna work on them like, one at a time to, you know, the next star. But that wouldn't be quite as important going forward, which is nice. Still gonna do it that way personally, but I know a lot of people won't feel the need to do that anymore. They can just send something to 21, 22, and just be done with it.
In any case, like like we've out like they've outlined rather these changes from February all the way until July, but like I feel like a lot of these changes should be coming like now anyways in like the upcoming February patch. By the way, like the next major update that we're going to be getting, like I believe we're going to be getting most of these is going to be February the 9th, so within the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We should be getting the care package or like the compensation package. That should be better. And these February changes, more than likely within like the next like first week is probably going to be like a bulk of these are going to come, if not all of them, and if they aren't all of them, they're going to be coming like the following week afterwards, more than likely.
Yeah, I do believe it's the 9th, because that's when the current event ends. I think end of the 8th. So
that's what YouTube Boot Festival event.
Yeah.
Or maybe we'll get like a week of downtime before they implement that. But who knows?
And this
in March. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and this is classes what would have been. Right now, we are technically in the first patch of the update, right? We just didn't get patch 2 and 3. This will be like patch 2 coming up, and then patch 3 is being delayed to summer, which is, I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, like it shouldn't be the way that it is, though. That's the problem.
No.
All right. So March 2022, not much because we're going to be in the middle of an event in transitioning from February into March, but we're going to be getting another event, Yeti X Pink Bean World, as well as more importantly, arguably 64-bit client.
You've been waiting for this one for a while, right? This Yeti Pink Bean?
The Yeti Pink Bean one, yes. I mean, like, just to touch on it, this is going to be our second chance at getting not only the Pink Bean title, but also the Fusion Pink Bean Yeti title. That is going to be the best slot title in the game. Do not miss out on this. It's going to be a bit of a tall ask for some of us, but it's going to be worth it at the end of the day. We're gonna have to train 200 characters, I believe, as well as complete like an entire set of like quests. It's probably gonna be like maybe a 2-3 week long process, depending on how long it takes to train up the character. I believe training up the character it was the hardest part back in the day, which is why I never did it, because I was just never into the game all that much, the way that I am now. But I think they might, like, I haven't looked into this event, but it has been delayed for a very, very long time. Like, I believe this event was told to us, was released in KMS
almost a year ago.
8 months to 12 months ago at this point.
Yeah, I think it was like April 2021. So yeah, it's been on the back for quite a while. I know sometimes they do like delay anniversary events a year, because that makes sense, because they want to link it up to the correct year for the server. But this one just had no reason to be delayed as much as it did. But
yeah, like I mean, we can talk about like how like events are being delayed in KMS for whatever reason. I know I have some thoughts about the KMS scandal and how like that affected their whole entire event, like not event, but like updating process.
Yeah.
And like progress, like how that entire scandal held them back for probably like 6 months worth of like updates that they could like implemented, because they were busy trying to play PR.
Play PR and put out fires that they caused themselves like 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. The whole flame thing was probably not something they wanted to have to deal with. They just wanted to keep that one under the rug for as long as possible.
So March is when we're going to be getting the 64-bit client. And this is pretty big in terms of like memory leaking. And making the game just run overall smoother.
I can't believe that in a memo less than a month ago, they really had the audacity to say, we might not be getting this 64-bit client. I know for yourself, you were like, oh, well, I'm just gonna be a bit doom and gloom about it. We're never gonna get this client, dude. That's it. That's the end. But
like I was hamming it up a little bit, but like with like you can't really blame some of us when we take a look at the overall state of this fucking goddamn company
sure.
and just think like because you would think like no way they hope like they'll move around like patches, like they're no, like GMS is notorious for moving around patches and updates like that we're supposed to be getting, but like like this like when something this important like gets refused to be talked about, like it kind of like paints them in like in a negative kind of light. They've already had enough negative light shone on them already, but when they have the audacity to kind of just announce something like that, I'm kind of just like, bro, like do you guys just not care then? Like maybe you guys just really don't care and want your game to die.
It would have been more beneficial for them to say nothing on the 64-bit client in that previous memo than for them to say something like that.
Yes.
Because this is, as far as I'm aware, and from like gameplay that I've seen after this change, this is like the biggest optimization patch that they've ever released in the time that I've been playing this game.
Yes, 100%.
And looking at gameplay with the 64-bit client, it just looks so much smoother than what it is right now. The skill animations don't have any frame drops. The game deals with its own, when there's high load on the
internal checks.
Yeah, the internal checks, and when it needs to assign more RAM to MapleStory, it just does that for you, and then drops it down again when it's no longer needed, just so it's not constantly stressing out your computer. This change is going to be great, and I'm really looking forward to it. It sounds silly to be looking forward to an optimization patch more than like content, but I'm just looking for. I'm hoping it just fixes a lot of these crashing issues as well, and being able to play the game a lot more smoother. It's just going to feel really nice.
I think it's just depressing to be looking forward to something that should have happened to the game a long time ago. Is what I'm kind of just saddened about.
Yeah, a lot of games went 64-bit like 8, 9, 10 years ago, and we're finally getting it now.
Yeah. But like, do you happen to know? Like, this is just something that I've heard down the grapevine. I have absolutely no confirmation of this, or even know that this is true. But have you heard whether or not like TMS has their own 64-bit client?
I don't have any knowledge on TMS when it comes to 64-bit.
I've heard that like KMS has their own 64-bit client, obviously, and then TMS also has their own 64-bit client. At least that's to my knowledge. I feel like that's what I've been told. Whether or not that's true, I have no idea. But obviously, because it's no secret to anybody that GMS heavily follows TMS in terms of like TMS gets their big updates from KMS, but then like in terms of how we update our game, like a majority of it does come from like TMS as well as KMS. They're kind of like the fucking step parent that we fucking like we don't want to recognize.
Yeah, anything to do with Kana Hayato, we tend to follow in their footsteps, or if there's core adjustments to GMS exclusive content such as Akechi, Princess No and stuff like that, then we get that from TMS. The familiar system is not from TMS, that's from GMS, but everything else I think is from TMS.
So if they happen to have their own 64-bit client, then I'm kind of like worried that this might be the 64-bit client that they're talking about. And if it isn't nearly as optimized, or if it's as buggy as everything else that we've been getting in GMS, then like maybe the 64-bit client is more of a curse than it actually is, kind of like a blessing. This is true. Yeah, this is true. I'm being overly like cautious about this. But,
what I would say is it can't get any worse. So anything's an improvement, even if it's only a tiny improvement.
Okay, so moving on beyond March, we're going to be going into summer. So summer includes anywhere between June until August.
Yeah.
Right? All right, Reboot World Intense Power Crystal price increases from 3x to 5x compared to non-Reboot Worlds. That's good.
Finally.
Why is it being held back until fucking goddamn like June at the earliest? Tell us, Ezra Bell, if you're listening to this. I know you're listening to this. Tell us.
I don't think he's listening. The thing is, I can understand, because this comes hand in hand with the boss reward revamp for like the scaling prices on the crystals. I can understand why that part of it would be delayed for a little while they iron out the kinks. I know we can touch on that in a little bit as to why I think they're delaying it. But this 3x to 5x thing, this should have come straight away. This is straight up changing a multiplier. They don't need to put any more thought into it than that, and we could be taking advantage of this already.
That has absolutely zero economy.
Yeah, we're on a server that doesn't have any economy. I don't understand. Well, okay, the scaling thing I don't understand because we're on a server with no economy, but
like the more kind of like if you want to be a bit more cynical about this, then like they want to hold back the power level of Reboot so they can make reg servers be that much more compelling to join, as if they weren't already on the fucking decline by comparison to Reboot.
KMS saw that GMS Reboot cleared Saren before GMS regular servers, and like, wow, okay, we can't have this. We need to delay something to make them weaker.
100%.
We can't.
Do you think that might be looking at the cynicism of that? Do you think that might be like a reason as to why?
I don't think that's actually a factor. It's more of a meme than anything. But I'm
not throwing any shade to reg server players. Don't come attack me, please.
No, it would be in their.
I can't handle your massive wallets.
It would be in their best interest to want to attract more people to the regular server, but I don't think that's the best way of going about it. But I just not necessarily nerfing Reboot, but slowing their power level increase with a change or by delaying a change like this. But I don't think that they're related. I think there's probably some quirk in the code where they can't implement one change without the other, and that's why they've decided to just push them both back together.
Again, like we keep on saying, why wasn't this, where's the transparency on this? Explain, if this is the reason why, tell us.
Yeah.
Just tell us.
Because they'll give us this roadmap, but a lot of the dedicated players already know about the roadmap for the next 6 months, with the exception of, global exclusive content, because we already have access to the patch notes from KMS from 6 months prior, right? So we know that these changes are due, and when they're due.
I feel like that's so dumb. Like they keep I feel like they're trying to treat us as if we're completely ignorant about these changes, which is the problem. Like we aren't. Like, the fact of the matter is, we do know these changes. We do know what we're supposed to get.
Yeah, and we do know when it gets delayed too.
So you holding this back from us just makes us angrier, especially if you don't give us any explanation as to why.
Yeah, and I guess for the boss crystal changes, I did think that there would be some sort of delay, just because from my understanding of the scaling of the prices is based on how many people are selling them on KMS, right? I'm right on that, aren't I? Like the actual pricing of the items are based on people selling them.
I believe it is that if if they adjusted for people for killing the boss itself, it opens up a huge can of worms of just it reduces your reward point gain innately by not letting you do that. Either the entire world suffers from lack of RP gain, which is a lot more important in I believe in reg servers comparatively to us.
Not just reg servers, but yeah, KMS in general. But yeah, for reg servers, they get all these extra scrolls and stuff from the cash hub, which are quite important for making money.
I believe it would be if they don't want to completely screw over if they want to improve one market, they can't screw over another market in order to do that. So I believe it would be based on scrolls being sold, or not scrolls, but crystals being sold.
Yeah. So my thought process on this is that because we have significantly less players, they have to redo the coding on if X number of people sell this item, then drop the price down by this scaling percentage. But because we have so many fewer players, then they have to have another way of looking at it. I've seen that they did a chart for TMS where they've just straight up made a decrease across the board for a lot of the earlier game bosses and an increase for the later game bosses. And I think instead of doing the incremental changes that they are doing on KMS, it's just going to be a fell swoop change across the board to these bosses. Unless they're going to...
Say
again?
based on our what our population is like?
Well, this is for TMS, so I'm guessing we're just going to follow suit.
Sure. So, but like, what is the reasoning as to why TMS lowers like or makes the cutoff essentially at? Because I've seen this chart as well. Like the cutoff is at hard lotus, I believe,
I
is what
think
it is, where it's, or CPAP.
I imagine they were following similar data from what KMS of where the price starts to increase and where the price starts to decrease, and just sort of like almost copied the chart to an extent and said, oh, okay, well, we'll give some rough estimates here and there. Decrease, because a lot of the bosses were straight up decreased by 21%, almost exactly 21%. And a lot of them were very similar numbers. So I think that's how they sort of got to these cutoffs. And that whether they are going to do a series of these decreases in prices or this is just going to be a one and done situation, I'm not sure, but this, I imagine, will get a very similar situation just because we can't have a dynamic price change like they do on KMS because we don't have the... They probably are not able or too lazy to code it to scale based on the smaller population size of the server. I think
it's to the surprise of nobody that we're going to be following TMS quite closely on certain things compared to KMS. Like to the surprise of nobody. So like it's the same thing going back to like the Kashin thing. Like it was already like we kind of like already knew that like the Kashin was going to be changed in such a way that would reflect TMS by comparison, rather than some sort of like mix between like like what GMS has now, a bit of TMS, and maybe even a bit of JMS. Like fucking God forbid we ever get anywhere near whatever the hell JMS has in terms of Kashin. That thing's fucking terrible skill.
Yeah, for those that don't know, you can stack up to 3 Kishins in a map to get what we currently have in the server: 40% spawn decrease and mob density increase. But you need 3 Kish in the map, so instead of a 2 PC meta, you'd be basically on a 4 PC meta. As far as I'm aware, that's still how it functions today in JMS, and it just sounds like a terrible system. I'd rather just bin it. Like don't do something like that. It's just terrible.
Additional boss revamp, boss rewards. Additional revamps to boss rewards. Sorry. Yeah, I believe that just might be outlining the whole dynamic boss crystal changes.
Yeah.
Con skill adjustments. We've already talked about that as well. Like probably only fix Kashin's uptime, and that's really the only thing it needs. Like if anything, it should get some nerfs. You know, like if anything.
Maybe.
I have a pretty high level Kana myself, and it's quite well funded, like I would say. But I'd be okay with it getting nerfed. Kana's been too strong for too long. Like I don't want to make a party and like I don't know how I feel about making a party these days and just being like, okay, so like slot 1 is for the Kana and then slot 2 is for me, right?
Yeah, before you even start, you only have four slots to fill from a 6-person party, and it doesn't feel right just because the strength that Kana brings to a party. To an extent, at one point in time, that was also including Bishop as well for Benediction, but that's less of an issue at the moment, especially since the power level of a lot of players gone up. But that might end up being a thing again in the future. Who knows? I did say, like, for Kana skill adjustments, I do think their domain is very clunky as a skill, and I think that should just be... I wouldn't say it should be deleted and started over, because it's quite a powerful skill on its own, and it does define a lot of their party strength, but I don't know if I really want to get into that now, because it's quite a big topic in and of itself.
Yeah, and obviously neither of us are dedicated Kana main, so...
Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't know how much changing that skill would impact how it does in a solo environment, so I wouldn't want to comment too much on it, actually.
But I guess we can, like, this might be a topic for another day, but like, how do you feel about boss crystal prices in like Reboot specifically? Because like the dynamic changes are needed to permeate, I guess, a healthy economy for reg servers. Obviously,
yeah.
They've been getting better as far as I can tell for reg servers.
Yeah, well, the massive amount of deflation from the increased Starforce cost is probably pretty beneficial for them in that sense. For the economy anyway, not for the players.
We'll talk about Star Forcing in a bit,
Yeah, sorry.
but for Star Forcing in reg servers, I believe not Star Forcing, but just the auction house in or the overall economy in reg servers, I hear has been getting better. Feel free to tell. But in terms of like reboot, we have a much more unique situation on our hands.
Yeah,
With with Kana going away, like it's going to be looking like does like because didn't KMS release that chart where how much money is actually
comes from each source. Yeah,
from each source, right? Because like I think Ursus is like what, like 10% or something, and then farming might be like another 30%, and then everything else comes from bossing, I believe it was.
yeah, it's something around that range. So a lot of it does come from bossing. That dominance of bossing has been decreasing since the change.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the direction that they're happy for it to go towards, then that's, I would say it's a good thing, especially since they implemented a new boss right at the beginning of that change as well, and bossing value was still decreasing, even though more people were, say, getting strong enough to take on Chaos Slime. Their amount of percentage from Meso coming from bossing is still decreasing, so I think it's a good thing in terms of their economy. But as far as for us as individuals, as a server, having Kana gone, we have way bigger reliance on bossing. So because we don't get to see the chart for our reboot server, I would say farming is way higher percentage than what it is on KMS. I think that's fair to say, don't you think?
Yep.
Yeah. So I would say that people will start to gravitate way towards having more bossing mules. It would take a little bit of time to get each one started. I know a few people are been starting on their bossing mules for a good 6-7 months now, ever since they saw this change from 3x to 5x, and people got that. There's like a tier list of which characters are the best to turn into bossing mules with, of course, like Ho Young, Adele, and Ark right at the top, just because they're really easy to fund and they're quite strong in a boss environment. If you're only taking them up to, say, Lomian or Easy Looser level, which isn't very, very expensive, and they do pay for themselves in just a few months. And then if you have multiple of them, they just sort of snowball out of control. And that seems to be the direction that we'll be almost forced into going to, but I'm not too against it, to be honest. You have more bossing mules than I do at this point, I think. So
yeah.
I imagine for you it's going to be easier to snowball them, right? To get boss mules 5, 6, and 7 out in a few months. No?
Sure. As long as I can, depends on where I want to put my money, obviously. I mean, like, at this point, I have to be inspired enough to actually create these mules. Like, I'm kind of in a weird situation where I don't really feel like playing any new characters right now, and I kind of just want to focus on my main. But maybe in time, if I do want to keep on continuing playing this game, like, and absolving myself from having to farm on a Kana constantly, or because of the inevitability of Kana being worse objectively for farming, unless I want to dedicate a totem to it, then maybe I'm gonna have to look towards that being a solution potentially. But my real kind of thought for bringing this up is, what do you feel like this is like? How do you feel like this change, like in tandem, like with Kana being removed from the game, or not, like Kana's farming capability being neutered, and boss crystal changes happening, especially with dynamic changes? How do you think that's going to affect newer players, rather?
Newer players, I mean, there's no easy way of saying it. They're going to get screwed over by this change for the most part. The thing that we mentioned right at the beginning of this whole sprint and not a marathon situation, where is beneficial to invest in the Kana and then cuts you back like maybe a month in terms of progress, but after a couple months, then you slingshot yourself ahead and you're running at that point. That's for people that opt not to do that. They're not going to feel that change at all. They're going to be feel like a small push, even if the price is decreased by the forecasted 21%. They're still going to be getting more money per week than they were before. It's not going to be exactly 5x with the small decrease, but it'll be a little bit easier for them. I know in terms of actual getting out of the mid-game level, though, it's going to be a lot more difficult for them, because even though those individuals who decide not to make a Kana at the beginning, a lot of them eventually would concede and start making a Kana. And it's one of those situations of like better late than never. But now they're not even going to have that option, so it's going to be rough for them. Nexon, global Nexon at least, seem to always be wanting to screw over the new players, which I never really understood, because those are the people that are important to keep the game running, because people at the end will eventually quit when they run out of stuff to do, and you need people to be in position to take their place. And I think that is becoming less and less of a thing, I think.
Alright, so the final thing, aside from like the final blurb, is that's going to be coming out. So stuff that's planned to be coming out anywhere between now and July is the sale of back pets in Reboot. They kind of like word it, but like we all know it's back pets. What do you feel about this with the advent of like everything always comes back to like it's how it is. Like Reboot is the Kana server. Like how do you feel like it is gonna change, or like how everybody's gonna view this with the recent Kana changes?
I'm quite bittersweet about it now, because before having a vac pet with Kana, it would have opened up so many maps for it to go to different places, rather than farming the same like 6 maps over and over again, depending on your level range, and they could have farmed in a lot more places. And now they're going to get this vac pet, and then they'll be able to take advantage of it. Let's say, for example, it comes in March. They'll be able to take advantage of it for March, April, June, or some of June, and then they get their vac pet, or they get their class neutered, and until they are able to move that vac pet to another character, they're stuck with a Kana that a lot of people probably don't want to farm on a Kana when the changes come, if they are looking to use the totems on their main. So it feels a bit unfortunate, but at the same time, it doesn't feel too worth it using a vac pet on the main either, since places like Arcus and Sony, you're not even making half as much money as what you would be if you're farming in lower tier areas. So it's definitely bittersweet for me, even though I will probably still be getting a vac pet. Maybe not multiple, but just the one, and I'll be chucking it on the main, I think.
What do you think about since we're already on like the topic of back pets, but like what do you think about like the whole this has already been a topic of discussion ever since they announced it in KMS, but the price tag on it.
The price tag is actually kicking the nuts, to say it shortly.
To say the least.
Yeah.
So for anybody who doesn't know, KMS has had back pets available in Reboot for close to 6 to 8 months now at this point.
Yeah, about 6 months.
And it is confirmed in KMS that when adjusting conversion, it's about $100 USD for the back pet itself. And you might be thinking, oh, that's okay, paying $100 for a back pet, it's fine. But not only does the back pet only live for 30 days,
you also have to pay a subscription fee.
You also have to pay in order, it's going to be, it might as well be a subscription fee, but in order to keep your back pet alive for those 30 days, instead of like the normal 90, by the way, for like a temporary pet that you buy from the cash shop, it has a very specific water of life that you need to purchase, and it's going to cost, I believe, $14.99 USD.
Yeah.
It brings the back pet back to life for 30 days, not 90 days, 30 days. You heard me right. It's going to be $14.99 to pay for this back pet kind of quality of life, whatever you want to call it, fucking increase fucking meso gain kind of like like better farming, whatever.
50,
This is dumb. This is dumb.
it's
Uh,
it's the $15 price tag per month is very similar to a lot of other MMOs in terms of like the monthly subscription fee. The problem is, right, first of all, Reboot is supposed to be free to play. Like not just Reboot, but GMS it's supposed to be a free to play game. So spending $15 a month on it is absolutely ridiculous. Not
you can argue that this isn't a necessary kind of purchase though. It is still like
sure,
like
it's like a premium subscription,
service.
right? Yeah,
Premium service.
because people are already spending, unless you're buying the premium Water of Life and staggering your pet renewals on a 30-day cycle. People are already buying those every month for, free for their main, free for their Kana. But this is just adding one extra to the mix, and this one's significantly more expensive, and it's every 30 days instead of 90 days. I don't think you should have a ridiculous subscription fee on top of a ridiculous price, but I have little doubt that GMS will lower the price on either of them, to be honest, which is a bit of a shame, but because I do think that, at least from a marketing perspective, I think they would probably make more money if they sold the price of the pet at half price and kept the subscription fee the same, just because way more people will be inclined to buy this pet.
Like, I'm pretty sure as soon as GMS announced their prices and like when the conversions were all done, like GMS was fucking salivating. They were rubbing their hands fucking furiously at how much potential money that they could be making, and could have been making if they actually brought these back pets like by now. But I could imagine the amount of kind of backlash they could have they would have gotten if they first sold everybody their back pets and then announced the con changes.
Yeah, maybe I'm not going to say that they're smart enough to use that as a reason for them to delay it, but if that was the reason for it, the delay to the vac pets, then I guess I'm a little bit more all for it and feel a little bit more, it's not that big of a deal that they delayed it, because the vac pets are in the game files right now. There was a few rumors that the vac pets were going to be coming when non-reboot servers got their wonder berries at the same time as us, but that didn't come into fruition. Whether it's because they cancelled it or whether that was just
that was earlier this week. At the time of this recording, it would have been like the Wednesday that just passed.
Yeah, it was supposed to be on Wednesday the 12th, but that just never ended up coming to pass. Whether that was just because it was, at the end of the day, it was just a rumor. It was never actually confirmed by GMS, or whether they actively decided to pull them back specifically, in light of what happened over the Christmas period and the whole kind of changes that they wanted to make mention to people.
I just want to say that was a reg server image, not a reboot server image. So
I know. I'm talking about within the game files as well, though. That was like the assets are there. The item IDs for the premium, I think it's called a premium Water of Life, is still available that you can view. It looks similar to the one that they have on GMS reg servers for like 15k NX or something like that. So
yeah, like as for me personally, again, much like you, I have very mixed feelings about this. Just like if Kana was gonna remain the same, like I would have been all for it. Even though fucking $15 a month to fucking play Maple Story at the level that I prefer to play it at would be a pain in the ass.
Considering how unstable everything is as well, it's almost like it hurts to commit $15 a month to a game like this, especially because it can't even run properly. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's just, I wish that it didn't come with the kind of changes, to be honest. But
yeah, like this definitely puts a sour note on back pets. So even if they do come, like I'm still hesitant on buying one. I might eventually just cave in and just think I might just buy one even on day one. as to whether like I'm gonna have to deliberate on where I want it to go, uh, in terms of you know when it actually arrives eventually.
Yeah.
Player housing content, we can move on to that. For player housing content, it is a if you any of you play Genshin Impact, I know that's a pretty moderately popular game, you
I
would
think
say,
a few
right?
people play it. Yeah.
Yeah. Genshin Impact has a system called the Tea House, the Teapot House, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm not too familiar with the housing and Genshin Impact, so
It, it's quite similar. It's quite similar to this from what I've seen, but if, me and you, like, admittedly, we're not like the biggest kind of like fashion story kind of like aficionados. We don't really give a shit about like any of the non kind of like mechanical aspects of the game.
yeah, the whole idea of building a house sounds nice in practice, but it's not something that I really would care to participate in personally, because you know, as nice as it would be to spend 6 7 hours building a house, going killing out specific monsters for furniture drops and stuff like that, which are gonna clog up your inventory. I hope that there's a bag system for that. I don't actually know. I haven't looked at it, but yeah, it's not for me. I only care about the buffs that it's going to give me. And I think you actually found out what the buffs for the housing is, right? And how they work?
When you get your housing, I believe you don't get your skills until you get certain closeness or like familiarity with your like there are like gauges that you need to fill up. Like this is a system that's released in like I believe TMS or
Yeah,
CMS. I'm not actually sure.
it's a TMS
Um,
thing, yeah.
I can't read Chinese, so I can only assume based on what I've seen from videos is that like there are certain gauges you need to fill up, and those gauges increase with how much furniture you need to put in. Another aspect that kind of is just like it makes me even less kind of like enthusiastic about it because like all like instead of like looking for what matches the best in terms of the house, if these gauges fill up based on like the quality of the furniture that you get, then it's just like I need to hunt for like higher tier bosses in order to get the best furniture, and then like it doesn't matter if like I can mix and match like things that make everything look nice. I just need to get the best, objectively the best furniture, throw it in there, and that like in order to get the best buffs, right?
You can just imagine a situation where like the end game players have like 10 golden chairs just chucked in the corner of the house just to get like the comfort or the closeness level of the house to like the certain threshold that they need. It doesn't look nice or pleasing to the eye at all. These just give the most stats, so you just chuck them in the house, even though they might just look absolutely awful and there's no theme going on whatsoever.
That is literally how my house is going to look
Yeah,
if this is the case. And what this is all working towards at the end of the day is the house is going to provide you one of four different buffs. It doesn't provide you all four simultaneously, but it's going to provide you one of four. And I believe the buffs are 10% bonus EXP, 15% boss, 15 or 30% boss, I'm not sure. 30 attack, flat attack, and the last one I believe is 20% crit rate, and that's kind of the only thing that really matters to me as an endgame player. I can give less of a shit about how my house looks.
D-
So
do you know if these buffs are random or if they're just you get to choose the buff when
you get
you
to
apply it?
choose. You get to choose.
All right, so
You get to choose, but you can only use one buff per reset day.
right, okay. I was gonna say like two of those buffs are absolutely worthless. Like maybe you would want the crit rate on a mule or like the attack on a mule,
I don't know.
but
I'm
I
pretty
prefer
sure
the XP. Like what?
I'm pretty sure it was translated to as crit rate. As like I don't know. Maybe if like you have a shit ton of boss and you're an archer, you want 20% crit rate because that might add more battle damage to you.
Yeah,
I don't know.
maybe. But that's like a
There's
pretty
been
niche.
like
If
I'm pretty sure it was translated to crit rate and not crit damage.
it's
Because
crit damage is is a game
holy
changer.
fuck. Oh shit. But I believe it was 20% crit rate.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. But that's the thing. I'll be only using the boss damage, and if I'm grinding up using the XP, I don't really care about anything else for the housing content personally. I don't even know why they decided to bring it our way. To be honest, maybe it's for a compatibility increase with TMS.
It's so weird because cause they keep on taking these steps towards making GMS more KMS like, and yet they keep on adding these exclusive kind of content, like these exclusive content, this exclusive content rather, to GMS. It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it's
Like,
like they're a little
do
bit.
you want to be KMS light or do you want to be GMS? I'm not actually sure at this point.
It seems like they're so torn on the direction that they want to go with it, and I'm not gonna say it's something to do with Savage Ace coming back, because they started going more KMS when he disappeared. And now he's back again, and suddenly he wants to add player housing or some stupid meme like that. But that's probably not the case. But I would like to throw him under the bus if it is him.
Because player housing was introduced back in 2019, I believe.
Yeah, it's a couple of years old at this point, in TMS. So if like the right time to have added it to GMS, if they really wanted to give us this content, would have been 2019 or 2020 at the latest. But now it's just like, are you just adding this as filler content because you have no updates until summer? Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
That's kind of it for player housing content. And then the last bullet point that they make on the memo is lowering Starforce enhancement costs by 20% across the board.
20% is better than nothing. I wish it was more than 20% reduction, or if they gave us like a scaling reduction depending on how many stars you have. Like somebody did the numbers on how much this decrease actually does affect us, since most of the Starforce money actually comes from stars 15 to 18. It would be the most beneficial to have the cost decrease there. We're not actually there's a meme that we're like 2 times the price of KMS, but it's actually like 75% higher. So whether that goes from 75, this always comes with a confusion when it comes to MapleStory because of the way they do percentages. Whether we're going from 75% higher to 55% higher, or we're getting 20% lower than the 75%, which that will be a lower decrease comparatively. But any decrease is a plus. It's just this small of a decrease for losing us spawn enhancement almost entirely across the board is it's not very much, and it's gonna make people are gonna have less money overall, even with this change coming at the same time as the Kana changes. So, but you finish your gear, so it's not really it doesn't affect you so much on your main, but on ults, I guess it's still the decrease is nice, right? But you would like more, or are you happy with ours?
I don't know. I've got a pretty disconnected worldview. I definitely don't want to be one of those players who have spent 1 trillion mesos and only to finish their gear. So I'm one of those people who hasn't. Do I think this is like? I mean, this is like, again, like you said, this is a change that's a plus, but
it's just
about this. I don't know if Kanas can still farm as efficiently as they do right now. Like it all is all reliant on how spawn enhancement is gonna proceed forward from now.
Yeah. Also, when this change actually comes as well.
Because I don't know if this was ever made public, but like have they ever made the claim that our Starforce prices are as high as they are because of our inherent thing, like our spawn enhancement and the rate at which we acquire money, or is this some sort of like self-perpetuated kind of excuse that the community has come up with?
I don't know if it was something that was ever actually confirmed by Nixon themselves, but I think that's just an assumption that the community has come with over the years, just because it's like, what other reason do we have for our Starforce's prices being so high other than the fact that we have a higher income of Meso? And I guess they got the numbers behind the scenes, so they must have pulled that number from somewhere, unless they just threw darts at a board and just decided based off of that, which I wouldn't put that past them either. So
but yeah, in terms of because this goes back to the talk about totems. If they remove totems, do you think we should have KMS prices?
If they remove totems entirely, 100% we should have KMS prices. There's no reason why we shouldn't at that point.
Would you prefer that, or would you prefer still having totems and also having like whatever, like maybe not 20%, but like a 50% reduction? Like I think maybe 50% might be a bit too much. Maybe 30%.
Uh, yeah, I think 30% is fair, but like I said, it's the 50% is whether it's 50% of what it is now would bring it below what KMS is, or do you mean just like 125% of what KMS is? Then I think that would be fair if we've only get 34 hours of totems a month. 34 hours of enhanced farming is not very much compared to how much farming you can actually do in a month if you really want to dedicate yourself to a grind. It's just that 20% is too low. If they remove totems as a whole, then it definitely should be KMS prices. I don't think there should be any debate on that one. There's we have the only thing we have over KMS in terms of meso income, if totems were removed, is I guess technically Kana can farm more efficiently even without Kishin, and
And farm efficiently. We have Maple Tour, and we also have
Akechi.
6x Akechi. We have 6x instead of 5x compared to KMS Reboot.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the 6x thing. Sometimes that one just tends to slip under the radar, I think, but I wouldn't say that justifies being as them keeping a significantly higher Starforce cost though. So I'll be definitely in favor of them removing it if they decide to completely gut methods of farming.
Let me just read this last blurb over here. I mean, like closing off like this memo. I believe that like these changes are positive. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I like it just comes off with it just comes off as more damage control more than it actually is like a genuine kind of like reach out to the community for like wanting to improve. Because if they wanted to improve, they would have implemented these changes immediately, I feel like, or like close to as immediate as possible. Maybe the most immediate time would be during like the after this live event goes down, but like it's just a total lack of communication is what I'm more disappointed about in this memo itself.
Yeah.
Especially after being ghosted by like basically all of Nexon for the past like 3 months, if, like 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, the funny thing is like the whole meme around Christmas is like, oh, they're all on Christmas break, and it's like, how long have they been on Christmas break for, dude? 2 months? Like, damn, I wish my Christmas break was that long, because they were very, very quiet on everything beforehand, before they even went for Christmas. And during the Christmas break, Isabel, he made a couple of comments on Reddit, which is, fair enough, while he's on his, I don't know if he actually worked during Christmas period or if he was just, CMing in his free time, but it has been pretty lacking. The only thing that we get, which, I mean, it's been memed to oblivion at this point, is we get memos about communicating in future memos rather than actual communication. Even with this, there's a few things that have just been completely left out from the blog that people were concerned about.
Alright, so this has been, God, at the time of recording this video, it's almost fucking 2 hours. So,
Yeah.
This has been our discussion from me, your boy, and Tyler, my boy, about fucking the current state of GMS, Reboot specifically, but, all of GMS in general. Like, fucking, I think we can agree that, Nexon has been fucking real shit to us, and, this, I think the TLDR of this whole entire thing is, like, compensation package, like, nice gesture,
Not enough. Not good enough. Yeah.
And two, like, and more importantly, fucking like transparency and communication. Hello, what, like, do these words, like, are these words too fucking complicated for you to understand?
No,
Like, does anybody at the company understand fucking like what it means to, like, talk to another human being? Because it doesn't feel like we're being talked to as like people.
they just I think there was a meme a while ago that's saying like communication is a two-way street, but Nexon is just talking to themselves and not actually listening to anything that they're saying. You know, communication is not just talking; it's listening as well. And they're definitely not doing any of that listening. That's for sure.
Definitely not. But yeah, that has been our discussion. I don't have a fucking intro. I'm just gonna end here. Do you have anything else to say, Tyler?
No, I think we're good.
All right. See ya.
All right, see ya.